Avoir. Welcome back to another episode of FitPet Boston Talks. My name is Leah Lodato, and I am the host of the show. Today, I am joined by my spouse, Lori.
Hello.
And the big and beautiful Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he is our therapy dog for the podcast. He has joined us on the past couple of episodes. Always happy to have him here. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for tuning in. It means the absolute world to me that you have chosen to spend the next couple of moments learning a little bit more about the podcast, learning a little bit more about Lori and myself. If you're into what you're hearing, please feel free to like, subscribe, and share the podcast with your friends. If this is your first time listening, we are Boston, Massachusetts area dog trainers. Primarily, I am a dog walker. I do a few training classes here and there for Lori, and Lori is a full-time dog trainer. We have 3 dogs of our own. Their names are Buddha, Raven, and Reuben. You will hear them referenced on the podcast frequently, and we're involved in a variety of different dog sports and activities with our own personal dogs. So we keep busy in the dog world. One of the things that Lori and I did recently was last weekend we attended a seminar. Do you want to do a little seminar debrief, Lori?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was with Paul Deschamps. So it was about play and rewarding dogs with play.
And the day that I went, it was about reactivity and working with reactive dogs. So it was like a 2-day seminar with different topics covered each day. Lori went on Saturday, and they covered play as a primary reinforcer. And I went on Sunday, talking specifically about working with reactive dogs, human and dog reactive dogs.
And there were dog trainers there as well as people with working dogs, people that had their own dogs that they compete with. And I think there was just, there were a few pet owners there, family dogs. Where was it held again?
Oh, it was up in New Hampshire. You're going to kill me. I don't know what the name of the facility was. I'm going to look it up on Instagram as you talk.
Okay, what are we going to talk about?
We'll talk about the seminar.
I liked it. I thought it was great. Look at her, she's bossing me around. This is because I'm not a stranger. She would be nicer to me if I was a stranger, I bet. She wouldn't admit it. Anyway, I had a really good time with Boot. First, I was surprised at how much I liked it, and I took a few tidbits away. I was talking to Jamie about it, who has the cutest new pit bull, which almost makes me want to get a pit bull again. But
oh boy,
I don't see that in the cards. I just don't. But anyway, I would. So I got to work with Buddha. Paul had the bite sleeve on for him, and he did a really great job, and I was proud of him. Catherine was there with me with her dog, Finn. What else? That was it. Got to see Allison there, who's a fellow Rottweiler person, so it's nice to see her. It's good when the same breed people kind of flock together.
Indeed.
So, yeah, good.
It was a good time, yeah. I'm sorry, the name of the facility that we were at was called Peace of Mind Canine Training. Up in, I think, not Manchester, New Hampshire, but very close to Manchester, New Hampshire. Poor Laurie had to go up there in a snowstorm on Saturday morning.
Catherine was with me.
Thank God Catherine decided to come and carpool, because I know that it would have been a hard sell to get Laurie to go up there in the snow by herself.
It would have, they said it was just a coating to an inch.
Yeah.
And then I went outside.
Like 5 inches.
Yeah. I was like, oh, let me go outside and I'll clean up. So, Leah and the parents. And then I cleaned up, and then it was covered again. I said, this doesn't look like the forecast they predicted.
Mm-mm.
What a joke.
Not at all.
We, Catherine and I were going 40 miles an hour on the highway. Once I got past that and I was able to sit down on the seminar and focus, it was nice as I watched the snow fall throughout the entire day. But the ride home wasn't that bad. I was an hour late to the point where Allison called, and she's like, are you showing up? I was like, I'm 2 seconds away, man. It took us 2.5 hours to get there.
Yeah, it was a real drag on Saturday. I probably shoveled like 3 times because I was like, oh, look, it's slowing down. It's going to stop. And I'd go out and shovel. And then 3 hours later, I was like, okay, I have to go out again because the poor weathermen are not that great at their job. But I get it. It's not an easy job to predict.
The dogs like it.
They love it.
That's the only redeeming quality about the snow.
Yes.
I like to stack it, shovel it up, and then the dogs enjoy it.
Letting the dogs run around in the yard on the snow is so nice because they're not ripping up the grass. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, so great seminar. I always like to do that every once in a while and just kind of sit back and get a little bit of a different perspective and take in some really great points. So had a wonderful time up there and got to meet some new people too. So that was super fun.
People that recognize Leah's voice now.
They do. Sometimes.
Strange.
Every once in a while,
It's hard to be popular. It's really hard. Not me, Leah, thank God, so I can continue to hide in the shadows.
Yeah, because Lori doesn't go anywhere.
Leah, I mean, doesn't that sound so mean? Lori doesn't go anywhere. I can't help it if my life is surrounded by dogs.
Well, whatever. Anywho.
All right, from now on, I'm going everywhere. I am.
And talking loudly so everybody knows your voice.
Excuse me.
Well, you know those seminars. I can't keep my mouth shut, so I will always have at least one question.
Were you yapping?
No, I didn't think I was.
Were you taking over?
Not
We're
me.
always raising that hand. Raising that hand all the time, giving us your opinion. You should be. Mm-hmm. Don't be that person in a seminar, folks.
Don't be that person in a seminar. It makes it very awkward.
Ooh, I know. I know.
Anyway, no, good times. Seminars are good. I only went to one last year. I went to a retriever training seminar, which was amazing. But usually I go to 2 or 3 or do an online one here or there. So
she didn't get out much last year.
Yeah, I didn't get out much last year. So this year,
in the shadows.
This year, I'm hoping to get to a couple of more seminars. Continue that education. Okay, so what I really wanted to talk about today was why the podcast does not have video included on the streaming apps, because a few people have asked me over the years, hey, all of these other podcasts are producing video and it is popular. People absolutely love to watch people talk on YouTube. It's this very interesting phenomena. And there are a couple of reasons why I choose not to produce video alongside the show. So I felt like I can just explain what's going on in that department and give you a little bit of my mentality as I'm trying to make decisions for this thing and make good decisions for everybody who is involved. So when I started the podcast in 2019, video was just not as popular as it is today on podcasts. Most podcasts were audio only, and really the only app that people would watch video produced podcasts on was YouTube. Apple and Spotify and all of the other ones were audio only. Now they're dabbling more in the video realm as well. But back then, if you purchased your RSS feed, which is the service that I use to push the podcast out onto all of the different service platforms, that feed was totally separate from YouTube. Like you couldn't even upload an RSS feed to YouTube at that time. Now you can, which is like super duper cool, because around the time that Google Play took off their podcasting service, YouTube started to allow streaming RSS feeds on the YouTube platform. So now I can upload to YouTube, and if you are somebody that doesn't like to listen through apps, or maybe you're an older person, you can listen to the podcast without having to download an app on your phone. So that's like really, really cool. But in 2019, that didn't exist. So basically, if that was something that I wanted to do, it would be like a whole other extra step of A, producing the video, and then B, uploading it to YouTube. And I just didn't even cross my mind, to be honest, to start doing video for the show. The second reason was the first guest that I had on the show was Lori. And there is no way that Lori would be cool with being on video for a podcast. I think is the most obvious way to say it. Am I correct?
Yeah, I feel immediately awkward and I stop speaking, even if Leah tries to do a small clip and pans it over. I just can't do it.
Yeah. So that brings up a bigger topic.
I'm not the only one, by the way.
No.
There are some people.
No, not at all. I could screenshot a conversation that I literally had yesterday with somebody, and I was messaging them on Facebook and said, hey, have you listened to my podcasting project? I would love to have you on. And literally the first response was, as long as nobody can see me. And that just really hit the point home. And one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it with you, Lori, is because my goal for the show is to have authentic conversations with people. And I feel like we have this preconceived notion that everybody is okay with being on video because of like the TikTok generation and people just being constantly on social media. But the fact of the matter is, there are so many people that do not want to be on video or become extremely awkward when a camera goes on. And if I'm trying to have an authentic conversation with somebody and they are feeling uncomfortable, how authentic do you think the conversation is going to be? Like, not very genuine at all. So I feel like it's enough for people to have to put on these headphones and talk into a microphone. It's awkward enough as it is. And I've tried to set up my room so that it's comfortable. Like, we're face to face, but we're not like on top of each other. We're not really close. And then when somebody sits on the couch, because we have a third or fourth person on, we can kind of all see each other. And it literally is like we're just like hanging out in a room all together talking. But it's still uncomfortable just to have the microphones and the headphones on. So I just feel like for the guests, the people that I'm asking to be on the show, not offering to pay them any money to be on the show, asking them to tell their story and be genuine, like, it's such a huge ask as it is. And I never want somebody to come on the podcast and be like, oh, I regretted that experience. Like, I was so awkward. I said all of these things that I didn't mean to say. I was so uncomfortable, and I'm trying to make this as comfortable as possible. So putting cameras in people's faces is not going to make people feel more comfortable. And these are all dog people. Like, we're all kind of, I think there's a good demographic of dog trainers that like just like working with dogs, and this whole idea might be a little bit off-putting. So yeah, all that to say, I'm just trying to make it as comfortable as possible for people to come in here and be their authentic selves, and video would be a difficult ask. Third reason is because it takes a ton of time to edit and upload video. And the longer the podcast goes, the more difficult it is, right? You have a couple of cameras. You're trying to cut those cameras to see the person who's speaking, trying to make those cuts at the right times. You can obviously pay for software that would do this for you. Again, like, I'm doing this because I enjoy doing it, not because I'm making a bunch of money doing it. So And so all of the gear that I'm using to record our voices, I had already from working in band projects and stuff like that. The only thing that I bought were these little stands for the desks that are specifically for the podcasting project. So I'm just not interested in spending all of that time editing video because I don't have that time to edit video. Like, I can barely keep up and get my taxes done on time. So more desk work for me is not going to be a good thing. And I have everything set up right now where I have all of my software like ready to go. I have the settings on my board ready to go. And it takes me 5 minutes after I hit stop record to upload the show and have it be live whenever I want. But usually it's the next day. So that would be the other reason why I feel like video would just kind of be a little, it's just so much work. And I know that it kind of will make, there's a cap, right, on how popular something can be if I'm not really pushing it to all of these really popular streaming services and, you know, YouTube and Rumbler I forget that other, is it Rumbler? Tumblr? There's another one. Rumble.
That sounds like another website, Rumbler.
But the idea for me is like, this is such a niche audience anyway. If somebody happens to find themselves listening to the show, it's because they really want to. I'm not looking for the show to be pushed to all these random people that aren't going to understand who we are or what we're talking about.
You never know, Leah.
Yeah, you never know. But I mean, I'm in the Boston area. We work with dogs. We train dogs. We have other trainers on. It's a niche thing. And yeah, I just haven't felt like in the past it's been super necessary. Not a door I'll completely close for the future because who the heck knows. But yeah, those are like my main reasons for making that decision for the show. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that as well. Is there anything else you can think of on that topic?
Not on that topic.
No. What else is going on in your head?
Well, a lot. But
yeah.
No. I had a class today. I hadn't seen the people in a long time, and they got a new dog, and they were telling me what happened to their other dogs, and it was kind of a lot.
Yeah. Yes.
It was bad stories. Like,
yeah.
Very bad things that happened that, you know. One was bloat.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a reminder that you should, after your dogs, don't free feed, because they had a bowl of food down.
Can you explain free feeding?
Free feeding is when you leave a bowl of food down all day for your dogs to access. And for a million reasons, well, for a few that I can think of, it's not a good idea to free feed.
Okay, well, let's go through them.
Okay. One is it's disgusting to leave food out all day. Okay, let's just talk about that. Especially on a nice hot day. You knew I was going to say that. Mice in the winter and ants in the summer. Woo! That's great. Let's do that. Another thing is people who, sometimes when I find a bowl out, it's usually just crusted over.
Or you see it like crusted on the sides.
Yeah, and you don't know how much your dog's eating. So if there's, you know what I'm saying? What are they eating? No one knows.
No one knows.
No one knows. Are they eating 1 cup a day? Is the other dog eating everything? One dog's wicked fat. What are you going to do?
Getting in there.
Yeah.
No, seriously, are the mice eating it?
No one knows.
Yep.
No one knows. So besides vermin and rodents, one, you just don't know how much your dog's consuming. What else? You don't know what time they're eating. So once they eat a large meal, what's going on then? Are they going to run after? And I think that's what happened. The dog ate. They were unaware of it. And then outside she went to go play. She had bloat. And by the time they got to the hospital, it was too late. You have to catch those things right away. So feed your dog separately, especially if you have a multi-dog household. Whether maybe you have a really good, well-behaved group. You put the bowls down. Everyone is at their own bowl. They complete their meal, and then off they go. But what if I have a dog who's a little food, resource guarder? Do I really want to deal with that? Do I want to have dogs in such close proximity where I'm testing it? Unless your dog is absolutely foolproof. Like Buddha can eat his meal. Reuben doesn't go near him. Buddha leaves his bowl. Reuben goes near him. And Reuben and Raven eat inside their crate. And I'll tell you right now, if Raven was eating from her food bowl and you walked over, she would kill you. Another dog, not us, but another dog, you bet. So we give her privacy and we let her eat her food in peace.
Yeah, just to paint a more accurate picture, all of the dogs eat inside of their crates aside from Buddha. And when he's eating at his little counter, we'll call it. It's not a counter.
It's
just
stand.
This little stand. While he's eating, there are no dogs free.
Right.
So he may as well be in a crate, right? So nobody has access to him. And when he finishes eating, he goes and he lays down by the door. He's not up running around being, carrying a toy, nothing. It's just like rest time after our dogs eat. And just for some perspective, it is 7:04. We let our dogs eat at 5. Or we should say we fed our dogs at 5 and they're still inside their crates. Because I think 2 hours is a good amount of time for them to spend in there before they can be let out again, because I'm terrified of bloat.
Yeah, I definitely wait an hour and a half. And normally dogs who have bloat, though I find this is not
always the case yeah.
of late, is deep-chested breeds with a high tuck. So picture a Doberman. But like I said, I've seen it in shepherds lately.
Somebody was sharing a story in our Toss and Fetch group this summer, and it happened to a border collie.
Yeah.
Which is like, you never hear that.
It's just that high tuck.
Well, the dog that we're talking about right now was a large breed dog. And I do feel like the large breed dogs, it always comes like with a warning label for that. But yeah, you just can't let the dogs run around after they eat, guys. Like, just let them rest. Let them rest.
I definitely do 90 minutes. I don't do 2 hours, but 90 minutes for sure.
Yeah. It depends how you're feeding your dogs too. Like if you're a once a day feeder and they're eating this ginormous bolus of food at the end of the day, yeah, I definitely would give them plenty of time in their crates before they have any activity at all. And the warning signs are like pretty acute. I won't say what they are here, but you can go online and look for yourself, just so that you can be aware if something happens to your dog, like what the warning signs are. And it is one of those situations where if they have torsion, they have to go to the vet straight away if they're going to make it. So, and it does happen more frequently than you would like to think. And for what's up?
No, we can go over the symptoms.
Okay, yeah, go for it, Lori.
if one of our dog parents are.
Yeah, symptoms of bloat, go for it.
Okay. So bloat is a twisting of the stomach, right? The intestines, to be more exact.
No, it's the stomach, I think.
Twisted stomach, which cuts off blood supply and can be fatal within hours. So you have to catch it quickly. Swollen, hard abdomen. Retching or dry heaving without vomiting. Restlessness, pacing, or drooling. Whining when you touch their belly. Difficulty breathing, pale gums, and a rapid heart rate. This parent just happened to notice that the dog was extremely lethargic and actually was hiding in a doghouse outside when she found her. And then they went to the vet, but it was too late. And at that, they were looking at a $10,000 surgery with no promise of anything being okay.
Yeah. No, it's devastating. Devastating. I love this couple too. Sweet, sweet couple.
I do too. They go way back.
Yeah, they go way back.
They knew people I worked with, I don't know, 15 or 16 years ago.
Yeah, they're old school. I love doing lessons with the dad. He's just this like older dude and he's like no nonsense. He's such a practical guy.
They rescue a lot of dogs.
They rescue a lot of power breed dogs.
A lot of different
Shepherds, Rottweilers, anything big and powerful. They're like, okay.
Yeah, and it's so strange because they're like, no problem.
They live in like this congested little area too. God bless them. I love them so much.
So yeah, I was thinking about that. And then the other thing I was thinking about, I was like, oh, maybe I should mention it on the podcast because I always feel like if it's something I would call Catherine and Melissa about, that it's something that other dog trainers might want to think about. So one of our friends texted us and said, I was petting my dog. I noticed that she has a wheezing sound. So what do you think? I think when she says wheezing sound, I'm like, does it sound like the dog is choking? Does it sound like the dog is coughing? And then I think, does the dog have kennel cough? So I was like, well, that has to be it. I didn't have any other, she didn't mention any other symptoms. Then she said, oh, my vet can actually take me. I was like, if it doesn't get better by tomorrow, I said, you need to go to urgent care. Or I recommend urgent care more than I do the emergency hospital. So they went to the vet. The vet was looking in the dog's mouth and the dog cried when they touched the mouth. So she said, you should go to the emergency room. So they go to the emergency room and the dog, so she tells me that. And then she says, oh, by the way, this dog had an abscess in the back of their throat last year. And it was drained and clean, antibiotics. It wasn't a mass or anything like that. And I was like, and I thought, oh. And then I was kind of mad at myself because one of the dogs is going crazy downstairs. So then I was aggravated at myself that I didn't ask about teeth because I had just had this whole Saturday full of teeth issues with dogs I was grooming. So if anyone says to you now, or if anyone says to me now, oh, my dog is making a wheezing sound, a coughing sound.
Well, hang on, you didn't finish the story. So what was the problem?
Well, so it ended up being the abscess again.
Yeah.
Almost in the same
spot. It was like a flare up.
So it was full again. Because what happens is the abscess gets full of pus and then it's infected and then the dog goes on antibiotics again. And it was a dental issue. That's why I was aggravated because somebody says, oh, my dog is coughing, choking. A lot of the times our customers will send us a video of it. And from now on, I'm not going to just automatically make an arrow to kennel cough. I'm going to say, did you check your dog's teeth? Did you check your dog's throat? Do you feel any lumps? Mm-hmm. Does your dog have a history of abscesses in their mouth?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a dog who eats so much shit outside in the yard. Dog and rabbit. And so if anyone's going to get a good infection, not only is she prone to it, but she'll do that. And I said, well, did her breath smell? And her mom goes, her breath always smells. She eats shit all the time. Okay. So ask those questions too when somebody says my dog is making these sounds. So little tip out there for trainers, because you know that your customers will call you before they'll call the vet, because they'll say, do you think that we should bring the dog to the vet?
And most of the time the answer is yes, just so everybody knows, like, we're not
we can't say no.
giving free advice and being like, yeah, they're fine. They're hobbling around on 3 legs. It's like, we're not doing that. If the person is concerned, we're like, go to the vet.
Yeah. As dog trainers, we should say you need to consult the vet, because what if?
Yeah, one thing that we
something so serious.
But what Lori's saying basically is like, you can do a more thorough exam on your own. That's not vet advice. That's just common sense. It's like, is there something going on with them structurally? If you think that it's kennel cough, is there something, like Lori said, like with their mouth? You can touch their mouth, you can open their mouth, you can look in their teeth, make sure nothing is stuck in there. I cannot tell you how many times Laurie and I have found stuck stuff in dog's mouth, like a stick or a toy or string from a toy or something that they shouldn't have eaten. They'll be out for a walk with me, or they'll be with Laurie, and Laurie will be like, your breath smells bad. And then she'll pull a stick out of a dog's mouth, that was stuck there. So it does happen, and it's something that you can easily check for. It's just that you need to get kind of dirty with it and really check and hope that your dog can be handled in such a way where you can do that. Like, Laurie can handle our dogs however they need to be,
Most of the dogs we train.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's been a long time. We're used to each other.
But yeah, Jamie and I were talking about it last week. And I said, we're doing handling drills with Elroy. She's like, yeah, absolutely. This dog's going to be 100 pounds. I have to be able to make sure that I can examine him. And so when the puppies are little, you start doing that stuff so that they tolerate it, because by the time, if you start doing it when they're 6 months old, it's like, it's late, and then you have problems.
I have a lot of luck with small dogs and with big dogs, teaching them the step up. I don't know why it works. I tell all my customers it works. So I either have a little dog go up on a platform, whether it's a raised kid stool, and that is where all of the checking takes place. And with Buddha especially, he'll let me drummel his nails if I can get him on a step up. So I say step up. He puts his front feet on the top. For some reason, he's so focused on what he's doing, I can just go along and I can towel dry him, because otherwise he tries to grab the towel and make it a party. I can take the force dryer to him without him trying to bite the air, because Buddha, what are you doing? So paws up. And little dogs, sometimes I'll buy a piece of plywood and put a yoga mat on the top. I did this with a few super aggressive small dogs I was working with. They just wouldn't even let you touch them. So I just had these small gloves on. I mean, honestly, I would use any gloves just so that it would give me an extra layer and I wouldn't worry about it. And I got some really nice gloves recently to protect your hands, and maybe I'll have Leah just post it on FitPet Boston. I really like them.
Yeah.
I just go at the dog and not worry that they're going to bite me.
The welding gloves are the best if you're worried about that, but you just lose all of the dexterity from those really thick gloves. So,
and sometimes I don't, if I'm just trying to get the dog used to me touching his ears and his mouth and brushing him. I mean, how much dexterity do I need to hold the brush? But these gloves are really nice. They fit like a winter glove.
Yeah.
So they do a good job. So the stepping up works for most dogs. Definitely putting them on a platform, because it's rather it's uncomfortable for the dog. Normally the parent's been trying to give ear medicine on the floor, and the dog can run away, or the dog screams, and then the parent gets frustrated. The dog runs away. They never have to get the medicine done, or the parent gets really amped up and their emotions are now in this whole thing. It's okay. It's okay. It's going to be okay. So now they're really nervous, and they're saying this stuff to the dog, where I find that the more quiet you are, the better it is. So a lot of the times I'll have my hand underneath the dog's, like around where their neck is and underneath their muzzle. And then I have my other hand underneath the groin area. And I will just hold them and not speak until they stop fighting, till they stop moving around. And then I continue on. If the dog is, yeah, guys, sometimes I'll have treats, but sometimes I can't have treats. I need to inspect the dog. We're worried that something could be happening, but a lot of the times I just stay calm. I shut up and I hold the dog till they stop moving. If you elevate the dog and they've never been elevated, that's really something to them, because a lot of them will freeze while you can check them out. And then after you've done that work and you've stayed calm, a lot of the times I find that I'm able to give the dog a treat up there. And then I give them the treat and I take them off. But I never take the dog off the table or stop doing anything until I have moments of peace. So,
and if you're talking or you're trying to pet or whatever, like you can't get the feedback from the dog that you need, because what if they're in pain somewhere or they're sensitive somewhere and you're talking and you're not paying attention to what the dog is telling you, you know, if you're trying to like look in their mouth or look in their ears or touch their belly to see if like something is sensitive. And again, we're not trying to like diagnose problems. We're just trying to gather as much information that you can before you go to the vet. Because if you go to the vet and you say, hey, I was doing the exam, this is what I noticed, that's where they're going to look first. You know, they're going to have more information so that they can make a better decision as well, and you can get faster care.
Yeah, or even we have a customer, I mean, it could just be putting eardrops in, or your dog has conjunctivitis and the parent can't get the drops in their dog's eyes.
Oh, that happens all the time.
All the time. And we had little Frankie, he was giving Andrea a hard time, so she came over, we put him on the grooming table, I showed her how to do it. I did one. She did the other. And I said, I said all the things I just said. You stay calm. And I taught her how to hold the dog. So I think every trainer should do this. You just teach your owners how to handle the dog for ear cleanings, for eyes. Back in the day, we used to drop the liquid right in the dog's ears. And unless the dog has an ear infection and you are dropping Otamax inside the ear or something like that, I don't drop ear cleaner in there anymore. Before, we used to take Zymox, lift up the ear and squeeze drops in. I don't do that anymore because it just leads to a lot of shaking. So I usually just put some, I like Zymox ear cleaner, put it on a tissue and I clean all the ear and just make sure you don't go too far down. And sometimes the dog can have a middle ear infection, but you won't see it unless you're really looking in there. And be careful if you use Q-tips.
Yeah. Ooh.
You don't want to be doing any of that stupid stuff. And make sure you clear the ear of any cotton balls or tissues that you use. Because one time I had a dog come back from a groomer and I noticed a cotton ball hanging out of his ear, which mistakes happen. So I get it, but yeah. Just help your customers out. Say, hey, listen, you're going to have to do ear drops one day. You're going to have to do this one day. A lot of the times if it's a nail clip, I say, just bring them to me and pay for it.
Yep.
Because, yeah.
It's easier. Better job. More consistency. Oh, that's awesome. I had a great group class this morning.
Yeah?
Yeah. We rent some space up at Auntie Dog in the wintertime to do group classes indoors when it's bad weather. And I just had a great group. We walked around the room. I answered some questions people were having, and then we worked on using play to reinforce behaviors, which was really nice. And all of the dogs, there were 4 dogs there today. I would say one had very high play drive. The other 2 had pretty good play drive. And then we had Joey, who's a beagle, whose mom was like, he doesn't always like balls. I'm like, okay. So
me too.
So I had a toy in my pocket. We love these things called foam balls.
Foam balls.
Yep. They are just exactly what they sound like a biothane rope on the end, and then it's like a foam ball, and they come in different sizes and different shapes and different colors. And I find that most dogs really like them. And my desert island dog toy is definitely a ball on a rope. It's just like super versatile. And if a dog likes to fetch, easy peasy, my hands don't have to get too involved. I can get some good distance on the rope, which is great. And we can do a little tugging too if the dog is into that. So if I had to pick one toy, no, it would not be a Frisbee or a tug toy. I would definitely pick a ball on a rope. So these are really good. There's tons of different types of balls on a rope. So there's some great ones out there. I know working dog people like the Star Mark balls. I find them to be a little bit too big for the pet dogs. But those are great too. The tennis ball on a rope is also a popular choice. And we had a discussion today in class. If your dog is really into retrieving tennis balls and it's something that you do every day or most days of the week, I usually try to steer people away from a tennis ball because it picks up a lot of stuff from the ground. So when that tennis ball gets dirty and your dog is retrieving it consistently and maybe they're chomping on it a little bit on the way back to you, it can really do a number on their teeth. So if tennis balls are your favorite, I just would be careful with that. There are so many other great alternatives like a chuck it ball, or these foam balls are great, or a Star Mark ball. I also really like to play chuck it. It's super fun. You can get a lot of distance. If your dog loves to run, chuck it is great. And the rubber chuck it balls are awesome too. And they don't gather up so much dirt and don't cause as much damage. They still can hold on to dirt, so I would be careful with those too. Any ball can. But no, it was a great class. We just worked on like marking and rewarding behaviors with play instead of using food. And all of the dogs were enjoying the retrieve. And one tip, so inside the room, they have the ring gates set up all around. And if you throw the ball and it goes through the ring gate, the dog can't get it, right? So what I did was I took the broad jumps and I just like covered the back wall in one of the corners with the broad jumps so that we played like into one of the corners and the ball never rolled under the ring gates or under a table or something like that. So that was really nice because it was a nice safe space to do just some short retrieves and have a good time. And I think everybody really got a lot out of it. I ran over by like half an hour. I don't think I told you that.
In group class?
Yeah.
Are you kidding, Leah? Sorry. Like what?
I know poor Jonathan was like handing me money. I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry.
Why are you sorry? What were you sorry about?
Yeah. It was a good class. We got to work with each one of the dogs.
I think it's great.
Yeah. Everybody got equal time. It was awesome. It was awesome. Some really good stuff.
Every time I throw that dumbbell and it gets stuck in the ring gate.
It's so frustrating.
Well, he would get it and he would tear the entire ring gate down. That's exactly what would happen.
Yeah, because ring gates are not built of the sturdiest metal.
No, they're like just accordion wood. They're so aggravating.
Like if you breathe in the wrong direction, a ring gate falls over.
Yeah, I think J&J Dog Supplies has standing stanchions. And if I ever...
Yeah.
Well, awesome. We have one to practice the go out, which I was using a yoga mat for, and that worked a hell of a lot better than the towel I brought to class. Buddha runs over, picks up the towel, starts throwing it around like it's some kind of a club. It was like a bachelorette party. He's at the other end just swinging his towel around. So I removed it. Things are going well.
Magic Mike over there.
I know. He left the room so that he could get his skunk and come back.
I would love for somebody to really demonstrate a consistent dumbbell throw, because those things are a flat out crapshoot. I am so into technique because of throwing Frisbee. You know, I'm really into like, all right, we got to work on the technique to get this. There is no good way to throw a dumbbell. And then depending on what surface you're working on, that thing may bounce all over the place, or it might not. Sometimes, it might do the exact opposite of what it does in your training space, and the floor looks exactly the same. It's just a total crapshoot.
Yep. Sometimes the floor is so cushy, that thing just bounces around. So when I was throwing the dumbbell, and also if the dumbbell goes to the right of the jump, sometimes your dog won't do the jump because they'll just go around it and go to the right because that's where the dumbbell is. Yeah. So we do try to make our throws really nice and then not too close to the jump, because if the dog soars over the jump, sometimes they'll stop short because they see it, or they'll completely miss it and now they're really close to the jump when they have to jump over it and come back. Mm-hmm. So you try to get a good throw in.
It's really hard. And the back spinning throws are the best. I think if you throw it up in the air and it has backspin on it, when it hits the ground, in my experience, I am no professional, it tends to be a little bit more consistent, but then you run the risk of what Laurie is saying, where it rolls backwards towards the jump once you throw it over, and then your dog either can't see it, or when they pick it up, they're like so close to the jump, and then they have to jump back over the jump. It's so...
Yeah, and you don't want them to jump awkwardly or land too heavy in the front.
And if you have a bad throw, the judge can ask you to like throw it again.
Oh, one time I actually didn't mind my throw at all. And the judge, probably trying to be nice, wanted me to do a rethrow. And I just didn't want to do it because I knew Buddha was amped up to get it.
To get it.
Yeah, we teach him to sit and hold it, blah, blah, blah. But we were in the middle of the ring. I know that he wanted it. And now he's holding it so that the judge will go get the dumbbell, come back with the dumbbell. I mean, I can't tell you how many times Catherine would walk over and hand me the dumbbell very obviously so that we could see if Buddha was going to jump up and nab it.
Right.
I mean, he took it out of Pat's hands twice in midair. I mean, I was like, "Are you okay?"
It's so much easier on grass.
You should have seen me during trial
so much easier.
When I handed the dumbbell back to the steward. I got the dumbbell and exercise finished. I asked Buddha to sit. I walked around him and I gave the steward the dumbbell. It was right in front of my chest so he couldn't see it. And the steward must have thought I was crazy, but I also think that she knew exactly what I was doing. And she put it on her little clipboard and walked away.
Nice.
Because if he saw it, again, I was like, he already had to wait for the dumbbell twice. He's psychotic when he does it because he loves it so much. I was like, take this and run.
I know.
Don't do anything. Just go.
Yep. Yeah, it's a challenge. I sometimes wish that the judge could just kick it back towards the center. Like when you throw off to the right or the left, I wish she would just kick it back towards the center and be like, all right, send the dog. But alas, against the rules.
And I have more luck saying hop rather than a retrieval command.
Me too.
Because then it's in his head, I have to jump.
Right.
So with him, I realized that was key.
Yeah,
Hup.
that was good.
And he knows every time he has to hop back.
That's really good advice, Lori, because I was using the retrieve command for Raven and somebody gave me that advice. You should say a different command so that she knows, hey, you see the jump, you have to hop over it.
And then Pat also told me to death stare at the jump when they get it and they're on the way back.
Oh.
And it worked.
Mm-hmm.
I stared right in the middle of that jump. Because another thing is when they go out and get the dumbbell, where are they turning? So sometimes a dog will turn to the left and now what? Is the jump right in front of their face? No, they could just run midline right down the middle.
Right.
So I remember I was leaning forward like I was Michael Jackson. I could feel myself leaning forward. I was surprised. I mean, they weren't like, that's a second command because I could feel myself leaning like, you better go over that jump.
Yep. Yeah, it's hard for me to train the dumbbell retrieve with Raven because it's such a joke of a distance. It's so close, to it's not a retrieve. When we do retrieves, they're 50 yards or when I play ball with her or something like that. So when I practice with her in the field, I purposefully practice at really short distances so that I can get good hold, good front. And then I reward her with the ball and just try to get that intensity level for the dumbbell to be a little bit more refined, shall we say. But even at the short distances, she hits the dumbbell like she's going a million miles an hour. But she's gotten so much better at picking it up in the middle, holding and retrieving. And I worked so hard and Paul helped me so much and it's working. But it is taking time. It did not happen overnight. It was a long battle. And also picking the equipment that I was using was really important. So my brother made me this dumbbell because he has a lathe and he was teaching me how to use it too. And I had just sent him a picture of one of the dumbbells that I use and he made one and he's like, does this look good? And I looked at it and I'm like, no, that doesn't look at all what we use for retrieving, but I'm going to try to use this anyway. And so it was the same length as a dumbbell that I would use. But the bit, so the part where the dog grabs it, was literally the size of Raven's mouth. And it wasn't...
In length.
Yeah, in length. So, and it wasn't really narrow. So the part that he cut out with the lathe was shorter. So it was only about 2.5 inches. And then he didn't make the middle part of it really thin. It was still a good grip on it. And when I went down to Paul's for a lesson, he was looking at it. He's like, where did you get this? And I was like, oh, my brother just made it. He's like, I want this exact same one. can you make this exactly the same for me? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I made one for him. And I actually made 3 of them because I have a couple in my bag too, if anyone wants one.
We have dumbbells everywhere in case you want one.
But it was interesting because I was like, here's this mistake that is not regulation size, but we practiced with that one for a long time. And it really, really helped with the hold. And then I started practicing with one that was like way too small for her. And we worked with that one for a few weeks because I was just like, okay, this one, she has to be a lot more deliberate than she actually needs to be on the one that actually fits her. And that was also really helpful too. And then now we've been working with like the regulation size one that she was struggling with from the beginning, and it's gotten like a lot better. So I think kind of like, yes, working on the hold. Hold means hold whatever it is in your mouth, but being a little bit more nuanced with those equipment choices was really helpful for us too. So, but yeah, doing a competition obedience training. I have taken a pause on trialing with Raven because I've decided that she knows how to do all the things, but we just need to refine them. And we actually had a really, really, really good day yesterday training. I met up with Jamie and we trained in a training space, and Jamie was the ultimate distraction in the ring for Raven. Like, we walked in there and she had a clipboard like she was a judge, and I asked Raven to heel and she was just staring at Jamie, and I was like, okay, this is awesome. So I took a step way, way back, did some just like super duper basic like 1-2 step heels and reward, and we got through it, and we did our command discrimination and the down on recall with Jamie there. And Raven did really, really well. So that was like, and Raven really wanted to go say hi to Jamie, but it just gave me the opportunity to like get in there and kind of give her a little bit of a reminder that that was something that she should not be doing in that environment. And it was helpful to have another person there because Raven thinks she's everybody's best friend, especially if she has a toy in her mouth. She wants to go show everybody.
Yes,
like,
she does want to show everyone.
It's like, nope, we can't do that. So yeah, really, really good stuff. Let's see, things coming up. Please be on the lookout next week. New interview is going to be out probably on Monday or Tuesday. It should be a great conversation, and have some more lined up for the future. Really excited about that. But I did want to get on here and just talk about some of the choices that I make for the show and why I've made those choices, specifically that topic of video, because it's come up in conversation with people a lot. And Catherine actually brought up an interesting thing. She was like, we watch ourselves on Zoom all day long. I'm just so sick of it because a lot of people are on these meetings all day. And this is kind of a nice little reprieve. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share the podcast with your friends. It takes 2 seconds to hit the 5-star rating and review on Spotify. So please do us a solid and do that for us if you're listening on Spotify. And you will hear from us next time.
Thank you.